Friends, Shabbat Shalom to all. This week's Parasha is Parashat Behar. God is giving the commandments of the Jubilee year to the people of Israel. And in this portion, the main concept that we're going to learn about today is the concept of freedom, of liberty. There's liberty. Every individual after 50 years can get his possessions back, can get his fields back. A slave that has been enslaved can go out and be free. A person that has a great debt on his neck and he owes money can be freed from his debts. The concept of freedom and liberty is in this week's parsha. How do we define liberty? There's an interesting verse that says that the people of Israel are slaves. And then God says they're my slaves because I took them out of Egypt. And this is puzzling. We were freed from the house of bondage, but then we became God's slaves. What does that mean? Here the concept of freedom in this week's parsha is highlighted in a very unique way. There's one word that comes back again and again in the parsha, and that is homecoming. Coming back home. Every person that is freed is coming back home, and the goal of freeing that person is in order for him to come home. So the negative description of freedom is just being freed from the house of bondage. But the positive understanding of freedom is the sense of a person coming back home. Any person that feels at home somewhere, he is free. So it's not only enough to be freed from the house of bondage, you also have to go back and to come home. Now, coming home is a very interesting concept. In Greek and in literature, in Greek, they call it nostos, which means homecoming or late coming. And in the Homeric writings, in the Odyssey, it turns out fantastic for the hero of that tragedy. But in many cases, they use it in literature to describe something that did not come into fruition, which means a person is coming back home. He expects to see the scenes of his childhood, a loving wife that is waiting for him, but he gets disappointed. After years and years, he's coming home and things are changed. He feels so artificial. He feels so longing for what he had before, but it's not there. He doesn't have the sense of freedom. So that's where our verse from this week's parsha is telling us. God, if you're being slave to God, if you're coming home is always coming back to God, anywhere you go in the world, you're always going to feel welcome. Even if I walk in the valley of shadows, I shall not fear, because you are with me. Which means everywhere I go, I will always be coming back home to you, God. And that's why this verse starts our week's portion to tell us what true freedom and true liberty is all about. Coming back to God. Shabbat Shalom.